Gather round, my friends, and let me tell you a tale whispered about on chilly autumn nights in the town of Darlington. It's a story of curiosity, fear, and a mysterious presence known as the Unseen Watcher. It all began with a young woman named Amy, who had recently moved to our quiet little town, seeking a fresh start. Amy was the curious type, always drawn to things others might shy away from. When she heard about the town's ghostly legend, she didn't flinch. Instead, she was intrigued. The legend spoke of an abandoned railway station, a relic from the past, long forgotten by most but not by the unseen eyes that watched over it. Folks claimed that whenever they walked near the station, they could feel it, an eerie sensation, like someone was watching them, though no one was ever there. Now, most people would steer clear of a place like that, especially after dark. But Amy wasn't most people. One brisk autumn evening, with the moon peeking through the clouds, she decided to see if the stories were true. With her phone in hand, Amy set out, her breath puffing in the cool air as she made her way through the old, deserted streets of Darlington. The town was quiet, if you ask me. As she approached the railway station, the silence seemed to grow heavier, almost as if the air itself was holding its breath. The station was a sight to see. Crumbling walls, shattered windows, and weeds that had taken over every inch of the place. It looked like something out of a ghost story, all right. But Amy, brave or perhaps foolish as she was, didn't turn back. She stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the emptiness. Nah, Amy wasn't easily scared. But as she walked through that station, even she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The air grew colder, the shadows seemed to stretch and twist, and that's when she felt that prickling sensation on the back of her neck. The feeling that she wasn't alone. She tried to ignore it at first, telling herself it was just nerves. After all, it was an old, creepy building, then one would feel a bit jumpy. But as she made her way onto the platform, the feeling only grew stronger. She turned around, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was causing it, but there was nothing. Just the empty station and the silence that pressed in from all sides. Then, just as she was about to leave, Amy heard it, soft at first, but unmistakable. Footsteps, not hers but someone else's, echoing through the empty station. Heavy, deliberate footsteps, coming from right behind her. Now, let me tell you, Amy was no coward, but those footsteps sent a chill down her spine like she'd never felt before. She froze, her heart pounding, but she didn't dare turn around. Instead, she started walking slowly at first, and then faster, trying to reach the safety of the station's entrance. But with every step she took, the footsteps followed, matching her pace, almost taunting her. When she finally reached the entrance, she thought she was home free. But just as she was about to step outside, the door slammed shut with a force that shook the walls. She was trapped. Amy screamed, her voice ringing out in the darkness, but there was no one to hear her. The footsteps stopped, but the silence that followed was even worse. She could feel it then. Something was standing right behind her, something she couldn't see, but she knew was there. She turned, her hands trembling, and though there was nothing there to see, she felt it. A cold breath on her neck, a presence so close she could almost touch it. Amy backed away, her mind screaming at her to run, but her body was frozen in fear. The door behind her suddenly flew open, and without a second thought, she bolted out of the station, not stopping until she was far, far away. When she got home, Amy was shaken to the core. She didn't sleep a wink that night, and when she finally calmed down enough to look at her phone, what she saw sent her heart racing all over again. You see, her phone had been recording the whole time. As she watched the footage, she saw herself walking through the station, just as she remembered. But then, something else appeared on the screen, a shadowy figure, tall and indistinct, hovering just behind her. Its eyes, dark and hollow, followed her every move. It was the Watcher, no doubt about it. Amy never went back to that station, and I don't blame her. She wasn't the only one to encounter the Watcher, either. After that night, others in town started to report the same strange happenings: footsteps in the dark, doors slamming shut, and that awful, unshakable feeling of being watched. The railway station was abandoned for a reason, folks say, and it's not just because the trains stopped running. Something else took up residence there, something that sees but isn't seen, something that watches and waits. So, if you ever find yourself in Darlington, and you're thinking of taking a stroll by the old railway station, well, I'd think twice if I were you. Because the Unseen Watcher is still there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next curious soul to cross its path. And once it has its eyes on you, who knows what might happen.